Hello, YouTube. It's me, John Avenger, once again. Welcome back to my reviews on YouTube Movies A to Z month. This time we're finally at letter S, the final movie in the not in the for Dirty Harry franchise, but the last one I need to review on this set, Sudden Impact from 1983. Man, this movie's still awesome. I must say, it's the second longest of these four. It's 117 minutes, an hour and 57. Still under 2 hours though, so that's pretty cool. But here's the thing. It's definitely different from the other films. There was a bunch of, it's set in the 80s, so it's like more advanced. They're past the 70s and they go right into the 80s, and it feels like an 80s movie, but with Dirty Harry in it being more of a vigilante than he ever was. And this movie's awesome. This is the only one that Clint Eastwood directed, so he was able to put his vision on the franchise, and it worked. You also have Sandra Locke in the movie, who was romantically linked to Eastwood in some of his films, and she's a good actress. And basically, this is the story. It is still dark, though. I will say this: the film tells the story of a gang of rape victims. Yeah, that's Sandra Locke, who decides to seek revenge on the rapists 10 years after the attack by killing them one by one. Sound familiar? Death Wish, the original, not the remake with Bruce Willis. That's basically what Death Wish is. His wife and daughter are murdered and raped, and he comes after the ones that did this to her. Again, it's Death Wish, guys. I've seen Death Wish, but it's done well. They don't with the rape. They don't show too much. I hate rape scenes in movies. You know me. It's it's deplorable, but it's not. They don't show any bosoms or too much. So because I don't want to see that. A man or a woman getting raped or a child or anything else. It just pisses me off. But the film is very fast paced. Also, the killers are actually cartoons in this one compared to the first like three movies. It says Inspector Callahan Eastwood, famous for his unconventional and often brutal crime fighting tactics, is tasked when tracking down the serial killer. As Callahan investigates the killings, he becomes romantically entangled with the woman, not knowing she's responsible for the murders. But to be fair, she's more of an anti hero because she's killing the people that did this to her. And they're the real killers. They kill and don't care about anybody. So it's still different, though, that a female is killing the people in the movie instead of just another guy, crazy guy. It is a different direction, and I like that it went for that. And this has the greatest franchise catchphrase in the franchise. This is the film that notable for the catchphrase "Go ahead, make my day." I love that line. That's still badass to this day, even 30 some years later. Which is uttered by Clint Eastwood's gun wielding character in the beginning of the film as he stares down an armed robber who's holding a hostage. Yeah, I think it was in a diner, but it's more in the city in this one. It's not like in the suburbs or whatever. This time it's definitely more gritty, and yeah, like I said, the film has it says San Francisco 1973, but that's when the flashback happened. This takes place in the early 80s, so 10 years later, 1983. Yeah, see, it says Harry Callahan is frustrated when a judge yet again dismisses a case of his due to what he sees as unreasonable search and seizure. Later at his favorite diner, yeah, that's when he pulls the gun out. The criminal surrenders, and later Callahan later causes powerful crime lord Threlkis to suffer a fatal heart attack at his granddaughter's wedding. Godfather. Yeah, this movie takes a couple of nods from other films, but it still does its own thing when Callahan threatens to persecute him in the murder case. And yeah, and Sandra Locke's performance is good as a terrified, rape victim. I mean, that's hard to deal with. I don't know how I would feel. She's Jennifer Spencer in the movie. Pat Hingle's in the movie, from Batman '89 and all the other Batman movies from the '90s. You have Albert Popwell as Horace King. You have uh, Michael V. Gazzo as Thralkis. You have Kevin Major Howard as Hawkins. You have Bette Ford as Leah. That's the other girl I think that gets raped or whatever. Nancy Parsons and Mrs. Kruger. And you also have a cameo from Mara Corday from Tarantula. She's the diner worker. She doesn't have any dialogue, but she's in it, and it was cool to see her in that. This was the highest grossing film of the five films in the franchise, $67 million worldwide, on a budget of 30, I believe. 22 million. Yeah, the budget was pretty big for this movie for the time. A $22 million crime action drama thriller with Eastwood as a lead, and he was much older than in the first movie, but it works because he's still badass as always. The film is shot very well. He has a really good, demeanor. And there is a scene in this movie that's so awesome at the end where the killers are gonna try to rape or kill Sandra Luck's character, and they're on the boardwalk, and Eastwood just shows his shadow, and he's just standing there. It was badass. It reminded me of Captain America in Steve Rogers in Infinity War, when there's a shadow and he walks out of the shadow. That's freaking awesome. When they do that right, it can really work well. They did that in Terra Mecha Godzilla as well, with Godzilla's entrance in that movie. But yeah, that's a really cool scene. But the critics were not too kind on this. They gave it a 57%, so almost the same as Rise of Skywalker. This movie's shorter. It's better. There's not 14 subplots going on. The consensus is this: Sudden Impact delivers all the firepower. You damn right it does. There's a lot of action and blood, and it's still as violent as it ever has been. And the most enduring catchphrase fans associate with the story, but it's far from the best. It's not the best one, but I do prefer this over the Deadpool, and I still prefer it over Magnum Force. I thought was too long. Like you could have cut like 5 or 10 minutes of that movie, and it would have been better paced. But it's awesome. This movie. It says the screenplay is ridiculous. Really ridiculous. It's a freaking movie, guys. It's not supposed to be. This is not a documentary on crime. It's a freaking movie. Yeah, sudden impact was best remembered for the catchphrase, and to this day, Ronald Reagan used it. Make my day in a March 1995 speech threatening to veto the legislation raising taxes. That's awesome. And also, Eastwood uses bumper stickers entitled "Go ahead, make me mayor." That's awesome. And Eastwood is still a badass in this movie. There's also a song, a novelty song recorded from country music artist T.G. Shepherd, featuring Clint Eastwood, which the song reached number 12 on the Billboard Hot Country Singles. Wow, that's interesting. The movie left an impact. People are going to forget about the rehash trilogy 5 or 10 years from now. No one's going to care about who was in that and who made them. This this franchise still holds up to this very day. Even the Deadpool, and I saw it last year, is still pretty interesting. You got Liam Neeson, Jim Carrey in a cameo, and Eastwood is still there, so he's never been recasted. And in this franchise, and like Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible. And like I said, I like the look of the film from the '80s. The soundtrack is awesome. The score is good. Who did the score? Um, Cinematography, edit. It doesn't say here. It's a storyboard, screenplay. I don't know who did the score. Wait, let me read the back. Uh, Screenplay, story. No, no, it doesn't say it here. But it is a good score, and I really get into it. It also has a cameo from Cameron Manheim. She was recently in the show with what's her face? Um, with Kobe Smulders, Stumptown. Yeah, she's the police captain in that. She works well. She has a cameo. She's an extra in the elevator. I'm like, hey, that's Milo Manheim's mother, Cameron Manheim. Good actress. And estimates Eastwood earned 30 million for this movie, worth every penny because the movie's freaking awesome. And the film, like I said, is it's still dark. It's not a comedy. They're not making fun of the first movie. It's not, and it's still relevant to this day because this happens all the time. These kind of crimes. Roger Ebert was more positive, awarding it 3 out of 4 stars, noting that the film was implausible with a cardboard villain. Yeah, the villain is basically a retread of the villains from the first three, from Dirty Harry, Magnum Force, and the Enforcer. He's basically a cartoon. It's like, get that bitch, and I'm like, yeah, he's just kind of forgettable. But Sandra Locke is a good lead female. It's not agenda. It's not. It doesn't have agendas in it, which is great. She's a woman that was violated and wants revenge. I get it. I get her arc, and the deaths are brutal. It's not like It's not a cartoon, and they deserve what they get anyway. Yeah. It says he also praised Dirty Harry movie with only the good parts left in and a great audience picture. Yeah, and the thing is that the movie didn't underwhelm me. I still watched it with the commentary and by the historian Richard Skickel, and it still works. It's still very well done. And if you haven't seen this one, I would say see it because it's worth your time. It's a great sequel. Not the best. I would say it's like the second or third best. I just prefer it over Magnum Force because it's just too long. I think Enforcer is like a good balance of short but fast paced. It's not too long and not too short. It works. This franchise is really good. I'll review the Deadpool one day when I can get my hands on DVD or Blu-ray. and rewatch it because it's been a while. And yeah, this movie it still holds up. If you want a good action crime thriller with some dark moments but still entertainment value, that's more than I could say for those Disney remakes last year or the past 5 years because it's just the same story, just done with worse actors and people that can't sing and horrible effects. This still has practical effects. There's still no CG in this movie, even in 1983. And it still looks like a movie from today that would be released because it's so awesome. It reminded me of the first John Wick. He's taking revenge on people for killing his dog and for his wife. It works. The revenge aspect can work when executed right. And this movie definitely executes it right. And look at that poster. Look how awesome this poster is. That's awesome. Dirty Harry is at it again. Sudden impact. It made an impact. And Eastwood, even in his older age, he still can act and direct. And he's a good Hollywood, icon. He's more badass with a Magnum 44 than any Liam Hemsworths or freaking Jesse T. Ushers or freaking Ronda Rousey. I'm sorry, good fighter, not a good actress, or freaking any Bayengas or any of these people that they think that they're badass action stars and they're just clearly not. And I prefer him over Denzel Washington, who's a good actor, just a little bit overrated for me, and I'm not into his movies. But with Eastwood, yeah, there's a reason why he's one of the best, and he has a huge filmography, and and he's still alive too. That's awesome. I'm glad Corona didn't take him away because what would the world be like without the Dirty Harry himself, the man with no name, which I have to get to those films too. But this is a good movie, Sudden Impact. See it. It's an 80s classic for a reason. Don't listen to the critics. You know that they're wrong. They think that every movie needs to be deep and thought provoking. This film is under 2 hours and it gets to the point, and it doesn't extend itself like Dark Phoenix, which was supposed to end the franchise. This wasn't the last one. We still have the Deadpool, and I still think the movie's written well. Like I said, the villain kind of sucks, but that's to be expected in an early '80s movie that was part like the fourth one in a franchise. I'm shocked it went past three films, but I'm glad that it did because it's worth it. And the movie, yeah, it still holds up, guys. See it, you won't be disappointed. Thanks for watching. See these movies. See the Deadpool. I would definitely recommend all of them. They're all well made. They're not. There's not a shitty one in the bunch because they all have made their impact. And they made Eastwood a star again after being in the spotlight for a long time. And Eastwood is better at holding a gun and directing than he is singing in Paint Your Wagon. Sorry, just my opinion. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.